Hi guys, good afternoon. I'm Bharat. I've been part of Zoho for over a decade now. I handle the enterprise and partner divisions for Zoho people. And this session that I'm going to talk about is beyond efficiency, where we create impactful employee experience and also adding a gist of innovative automation. But how are we going to do it? Is what we have in the agenda. So we'll quickly look at what has changed the HR scene today, how Zoho people can help your business, and we'll then wrap up with the questions. The vision for Zoho's employee experience is set straight. So we want to always make sure we stay right on the compliant. We are very much focused not just with Zoho people, but across the products in Zoho. We want to make sure data privacy is seen as more sacred, especially when the HR information is concerned, right? It's even more, I would say, sacred, right? So that is on a top notch. We also talk about the extendability in the HR platform, where a lot of customizations are required. Processes across different companies would drastically change. So we want to make sure our vision towards the product is also on the extendability. And then the icing on the cake is AI. You would have heard this term across all sessions over different tracks. Now, because that's where the world is driving through, we are also focusing on AI. But for a change, we are not going to look something like a chat bot where you ask something and you're going to get a solution. But in Zoho people, we're going to kind of concentrate more on HR assistive AI. When I say HR assistive AI, it's going to give more of reactive emulsions, which would create more impact, and it's also going to be more efficient. Probably an example is when an employee is kind of doing late on all his jobs and he's also not doing his the focused skills on the right mark, and he's also taking more leaves, for example, right? So there is a very good chance of attrition getting carried out in that case. So here HR cannot always get into the data, run through, and then probably sense a source of some misconduct happening with an employee, right? So rather, this HR assistive AI is going to pop you the information about the employee, and you can also trigger a survey to an employee automatically so that both sides of the system are taken care. So this is where a whole lot of experience with different chambers, like Zach spoke about, comes in with your employee experience. So employee experience is not, I know, something that we think it's more complicated. Like, it's more like how you make your employees feel in the moment that matters. It's a conversation between you and the organization, or the employee and the organization. But that just said, we also have a stat that says approximately around 83% of the HR leaders believe that employee experience, creating a better employee experience, is a key success in every organization's success. Now, having said that, we have a lot of things that have changed, right? The workplace has completely changed. The way we work is getting slowly changed with different hybrid models in place. The workers are constantly getting changed. You always have new people coming in, few of them going out of the system. And what we work for is getting deliberately changed from the data perspective. These are the changes that we are seeing to the world where the HR has too many problems to solve. This includes right from your core HR functions to training. They also sometimes have to do on the expense management, the benefit management, and the core employee circle. But the industry is still continuing to struggle with core challenges where there is a constant need for adaptation in workflow model and the workforce model, constant emphasis on the DEI. There's always a proximity bias and the employee experience leading towards the employee burnout structure, where too much of force is getting utilized on a dependable resource or a bunch of resources. But do you know where this all is leading to? Your employees. This is one bunch that completely gets redirected to your employees. So let's see how Zoho people can help you to automate a lot of your processes in a much efficient way. The start of a system for any HR lifecycle would be from your onboarding. So in Zoho people, we have two different methods of onboarding your employees or candidates, I would say. One is the pre-onboarding and the other one is the post-onboarding. Pre-onboarding is a space where you've hired a person. He's still not an employee. He's still in the candidate phase. Before you onboard him to your system and make him as an employee, there could be few informations or details that you want to collect from them. So using the pre-onboarding feature, you can collect the details and then use them to onboard them as an employee, which you'll be doing in the post-onboarding process. By doing this, they'll have a complete integrative solution and all the required data to be keyed in. We're also compliant on I-9 and W-4. So the moment you start onboarding your employees, these forms can also be sent to your potential candidates. By doing this, they'll have a complete enforced self-service portal. And the need of the self-service portal is because sometimes they get lost, right? When you onboard an employee, or probably when we join an organization, as a newbie, right? We might have to juggle around a lot of things in the very initial phase of our tenure in the company. So a powerful self-service portal can help you to eliminate such challenges, and everything can be made available in a search or a click, like you see in the screen. That means you can avoid everything that is not required with the permission layer, and your new employees they'll be able to see the structures, everything in one single flow. Now let's move to the core workforce management, which is the backbone of your HR system. So these are the points that we'll be looking into the workforce management structure. We'll start with the attendance tracking. So this is more of like tracking a physical presence of an employee, right? Whenever a clock in and clock out is done by your employees, this can be handled in multiple waves in Zoho people. The ones that you see on the screen, you can either do a check-in, check-out using your web application, or we also have a dedicated mobile app through which your attendance can be marked. The new feature that you have brought in is your kiosk, which is nothing but your facial recognition system. The system can just scan your face and mark your attendance automatically. We also have the old school methods of integrating your biometric devices. Whenever you enter your office, you either swipe your ID card or you use your thumbprint to kind of have the access to the door, or put in a password key to enter your office, right? We can directly integrate that system with our attendance module, so you or your employees doesn't have to get into the system and do it manually every time, like the check in and check out. Likewise, when you move out of the office, the system is going to mark you out from the office. This is the way of marking or tracking a physical presence of your employees. The next is the productive presence. So remember, we spoke about a challenge of your employees getting burned out with too much of resource pulling happening on their projects. The system can help you to identify the available resources versus the available projects, and system can schedule your jobs automatically with the available skill set. So it's basically a skill set mapping versus the availability and the projects that you are running on time. So this can help you to overcome the burnout challenge that we spoke about. And we also have shifts. You can create multiple shifts and have them assigned to your employees. And this will also have an automatic shift rotation, which is a roster management tool, wherein the shifts can be changed automatically by the system once you define a process flow that the system has to take care for the rest of the year. And we'll also be able to send timely reminders to your mobile and to your email functions, so that your employees are kind of notified and they're made aware of what the changes are with regards to the shift. You also have absence being tracked with different diverse reports. One such report is what you see on the screen. This is going to help you to understand from a HR perspective. This is going to help you to understand what kind of an absence this employee is right in, because it could be an on duty, it could be a sick leave, or it could be an earned leave. Different types of absence is how we configure the leaves into, and this is one single page that can give you a bird's eye view of your entire organization. And not just that, absence is no longer seen as causes for your work interruption, because we have options to overcome them. One such option that you see here is delegation, which helps you neatly to delegate all your assignments or tasks when a specific person or an employee is on leave. For example, if a manager is on leave, with the help of delegation option, he can delegate all such tasks to his colleague who can take care of that, including the permission layer, and then can be swiped back when the employee is back from his or her leave. And we also have options like module administration and roles to capture and define the kind of permission what this specific employee needs to be given or granted. Now we have seen the core HR functions. Sometimes our HR teams are overloaded with different creative functions that I would say, like the expense management. So one such feature that you see on the screen is the digital expense management, where this will help you to track your end-to-end expense cycle right from your pre, on, and post trip. So, for example, we flew from India all the way to Houston just for this event. So, what I would do here is to raise a travel request to my team, and this is subjected to an approval. Let's say my manager is approving the request, and my request is approved, and then my tickets are booked for the flight. Now, while I'm on the trip, I can whenever I purchase something that I need to reimburse everything, I just scan or take a picture of the receipt, the bill copy. And once I'm done with the trip, once I'm back to India, all I have to do is just click on submit. So all the captured expense with the mileage tracking is going to be submitted to the respective team. And once approved, the data is going to be getting reimbursed back to my account. So this is how the expense management tool is going to look like. You just scan it, key in the details as and when you purchase something or you make an expense, and then it is all set in the system. Because the automative functions of tracking the mileage or audit ready functions, or even let's say functions basis on the policies and budget, is done by the system itself. So we don't have to maintain a manual transcript or do anything manually here. System is going to take care of the entire validation process. So just imagine if all of these core HR functions had to be done by a HR manager, he or she would be spending at least 14 hours a week. I would say at least 14 hours a week to complete all this task manually. So if you can automate them, this time can be used in some non-mundane tasks to make more meaningful workforce. So next would be the employee development. We have seen the core HR function. Now we'll be concentrating in the development cycle. So two key modules for your employee development would be the performance and the learning management system. So with Zoho People's performance, we have employee-centric cycles where the system can give you multiple options in different methods where you can access or assess your employee's performance. Few such options here are continuous review. You have self-appraisal, wherein these cycles can be sent to your employees. They can give their own feedback of how the performance was in a specific quarter or for the year. And then we also have review extensions where the HR can also give their response or feedback about the employee. So all of them gets collated and then is getting subjected for the specific performance appraisal cycle. Not just that, we also have a 9-box matrix which is going to help you in defining the potential assessment versus the performance assessment. This structure is used or can be seen in two different ways. One, to find out where the resource is lagging in the skills. On the other side, this can also lead to your a benefitable structure to develop or to identify your entire management cycle, more of a succession planning, right? This chart can help you to even define a succession planning by identifying where the gaps are or where the par excellence is being handled. Most of the systems do end with giving a review or just giving a feedback on how their performance was, but we have tightly integrated our performance management system along with the learning management system, so that if an employee is lagging in a specific skill set, their manager can actually recommend a course to their employees so that they can go through the course, get things done, and improve their performance. They can also take the course in multiple mediums, could be through virtual classrooms. They can also have a discussion forum, or they can also have a group like structure where they can learn courses and also get a certification. You can also even have an assessment and a certification line attached to this. So by doing this, what exactly happens is you complete the whole cycle. Not your job here is just not to give the rating for an employee. You also help them and guide them in the ways of how they can improve their performance. That's what more of a LMS looks like. I also, I don't know if you observed it. There was a question from a gentleman asking the difference about our learning management system in Zoho People versus Zoho Learn. Zoho Learn, being an independent learning management system, covers the generic learning materials, where when I say generic learning materials, it's more of team building learning. And if there is a generic course that your entire organization has to go through, for example, if there is an ISO complaint audit that your team should be aware of, and the metrics of how the gauging would be taken is something your team should be aware of, then Zoho Learn has an upper hand. But in Zoho People, the learning management system is specific to an individual, because each and every skill set is attached to an individual. It is not attached to a department or to a specific workforce function. So this is the edge that you have with learning management system that is covered in Zoho People. So next we'll move into the employee engagement part, where the core functions are carried in terms of the engagement is concerned, because again, employee experience leads to the employee engagement, and employee engagement has a vice versa function with your employee experience. So we have tools that can even help you to share your screens. You can conduct meetings within your team. You can also have, your projection rates shown to your employees, as you see in the screen here. You can also create bots. Now, bots is one equally synonymed word to AI, what you guys would have, actually been hearing a lot about. So to give you a gist of what a bot is, it's not a rocket science. Bot is precisely your own data. Whatever you have, a data structure that is, primed in your own database, which is nothing but your employee information, to keep it very simple. This is going to process, the system is going to process the data that your system already has, and it is going to give you in a much filtered way. For example, if you go and ask the bot saying that, can I apply a leave? The bot is going to give you a real time use case. Yes, do you want to apply? Which type of leave you want to apply? Then you just go say sick leave, it applies sick leave for you. So this is bot. This is the same thing that you do in a leave module by going to the leave module, click on apply leave, select the leave type and apply it. So we are doing the same action here, but this has a more simpler interface, I would say. You don't have anything called navigation here. Absolutely zero navigation. You directly go to the bot, put up whatever you need, and the bot is going to do things for you, provided if it's in the scope. Similarly, if you want to get an attrition report for, say, the last year or for last quarter, if you have to do it through the reports, you go to the reports, navigate, put up a filter, and then get the data, right? But if you ask in the bot, it's going to give you the report right up in front, and you can just download it from there. So we're not doing anything different, because often people get confused that bot is something else. It's a whole new of different technology. No, it's all stacking of your own data. Instead of you navigating it and going and getting the data, the system is doing it for you, right? If you don't have enough data keyed in your system, any bot cannot help. The data has to be there, so as the system is going to help you to retrieve it and give it to you. That's as simple as AI or a bot is, right? Otherwise, we don't have anything, because we all talk about ChatGPT, we all talk about a lot of LLM models. The LLM models are still studying a data. It's all on a progression phase. The type of search you make is what your LLM is going to suggest you back, right? It's not that something out of a universe, something comes up and gives a data, or nothing like that. It's your own data. So next would be creating a better workspace. Using Zoho Click, you can even time your messages. For example, if I'm presenting here, let's say I want a message to be sent to my team right at this time, say around 3:30 p.m., which I can't do. So I can schedule a message. So this message is sent to my team on the scheduled time. And not just that, you have different ways of marking your availability. Just simple things that you can see here. Nothing much here. The next would be having an intranet social platform. So you might wonder why we talk all of this as part of core functions, because this is where the HR domain is leading to. Employee experience is becoming as equal as important as an AI should be. So having a connect like platform within your own ecosystem can help you to send lighter messages, probably run a poll, or you can even have leadership discussions that can take place in your own self-service social networking platforms. The next would be the ENPS survey. We always think about us as an employer giving feedback to the employees, but we always believe that there is a room for improvement. ENPS surveys will help the organizations to get feedback from your employees wherever they need a change on, or they're not doing well, if they need some concerns to be addressed. This is the place where they send feedback to your employees. And this is where the AI kicks in. See, our aim at Zoho is not to brand AI and show it explicitly. The wiser way to handle it is, you might even not know that you're using an AI. That's how intuitive the technology should be. One such example is here, where the same use case that I've explained at the beginning of the session, if an employee is not doing well, right, on one side, it should indicate the HR that, hey, this person is not up to the mark. You might have to sit with the employee to understand what he's going through. On the other side, system can also trigger pulse surveys. Depending on the pulse of the employee, we can trigger a survey which is not a generic survey, right? That's a survey only to that employee to understand what he's going through, and the questions can be ad hoc and dynamic. So we don't have a set of questions like a template that goes to all of them any point of time, for example, if it meets the algorithm, right? No, it's not going to be like that. System is going to define questions basis on his or her performance, and then the survey is given to the employee. And the other, I would say, beauty of the part on this system is, we also have anonymous surveys. Sometimes employees feel kind of reluctant in sharing the feedback, but sometimes when you do it as an anonymous survey, you might get a genuine feedback if you really want to improve on something, right? So employees can also choose if they want to make this survey result as anonymous, so none of you can actually see who has filled in that survey, but eventually the results of what you have to do. So that is one kind of an option that we have also brought in. So generating the data derivatives is more important than anything else, because everything is data, everything is your own data, and we value that and we construct that in this way in any given source of a system. And Jalil, do you guys get questions from your employees? Probably just a question. You get a lot, we've seen a lot of enterprise deployments. Again, you guys will be always filled up with questions. And how do you handle them? Like, do you handle with emails, chat, phone calls, right? The options are endless. What if we say there is a smarter way to handle the system, which is nothing but you sort everything that you get, you manage, you articulate the reasons, and you provide a better employee experience. So the cases module in Zoho People is more like a ticketing tool, to put it in a much simpler way, can help you to create multiple categories, like the categories that you see on the screen. One could be for travel, one could be for grievance, sometimes it can be for health and wellness, right? You can create your own categories and assign a DRI for each category. So what happens here is, any employee who has a question, he doesn't have to search for who he has to go to. He can go to the system, choose the category he wants to, and fill up the query that he has. And this is again an anonymous. If you would like to keep it anonymous, you can. But if you need a better solution, you might do it as quite a generic way. And this category, as soon as it is submitted, this query, as soon as it is submitted, gets assigned to the employee or the DRA who is responsible for. So you can also have an ETA, a TAT kind of a structure. For example, something like grievance can have a TAT of 6 hours, but something like leave or a work from home can have a TAT of 24 hours. Depending upon the criticality of the category, you can create your TAT and ETA, and the system can operate its own self-service platform like a desk or like a ticketing tool within this system. And you will, by doing this, what happens here is there is a perfect track of what kind of queries have been raised and what kind of solution is being given to the employee, and you can track this at any point of time in the future, because when we do it with multiple mediums we sometimes miss out on communications, but when you do it as a structured one it never gets missed, right? So the next one here is the exit management. So till date we've operated the exit management as a custom module, but now we're going to release this as a system default function. This is pretty much the flow. Whatever you see on the screen is a generic flow of any organization's exit process. This starts right from an employee submitting a designation. It goes to an approval for his or her manager or a HR. If it's rejected, it's done. But if it is approved, it is then subjected to multiple clearances. So once the clearances are done, the right amount of notifications are given to the respective teams, and then finally an exit interview is being conducted. So this looks so generic. So we have brought in a much intuitive way of having this designed and approached in our own style. So offboarding is going to help you to have different stages in its own metric. When I say different stages, you can have different flows of offboarding, because offboarding in, if you have a global presence as a company, right, and offboarding in one country might not be the same as a process you operate in another country. If you're just within the same country, there is another example where someone who is so senior in the organization might not have to go through all the processes two versus compared to a person who has joined as new as 1 year. So you can create offboarding flows based on locations or designations so that you have the entire flow captured in one single page. Also, you can break down the offboarding structures as you see in the screen, even to the least of creating a question for your exit interview. So you can predefinedly configure everything in the system to the deepest customization, that I would say, as example as an exit interview. And you can set all your workflows, you can have your patterned documents and the preferences that can be made very clear in the system, so that this is a one-time configuration. Once you do the configuration, every time when you have an exit, the system is going to do everything automatically for you. Not just this is going to be how the offboarding will look like. It's one single page that can give you a whole lot of key insightful information about all the clearances that you have, so that you don't have to juggle around different pages to track where the status of the specific employee's offboarding is. So we are also going to come up as a part of a roadmap with Alumni Portal. Alumni Portal is nothing but it's something like a portal for your ex-employees, right? So once we leave an organization, we generally don't have a very tight intact with that organization. But creating an alumni portal has its own advantages. One, there is a very good chance of that employee being rehired if he's a really good resource, right? The other one, they can always be your own brand ambassadors if you keep engaging them. Three, you can even have a very powerful experience that can be created, and also referral, right? You can even get a lot of referrals of employees from different resources. You're also working on the permission layer, so this can help you to differentiate permissions from one level to the other, predominantly what each employee should be seeing in the system. Someone in the role of a HR manager might have a middle level access. The CEO of the company will have the ultimate access, and someone like a team member would probably have a 20-30% of access to the system. So this associations will give you the layered structure to the deepest of the core modules as possible. So we are secure and future ready, like always. We have Zia competing with our own AI based platform. Kiosk is something that we have already seen. It's nothing but a facial recognition software that we have recently brought in. And we also have mobile application. Pretty much all the functions that you have seen right now in the web are also available in our mobile app, so that you can do things on the go. So this is going to be the last product slide, where this is one single page to derive or get any kind of analytics report that you want from. It could be report from attrition to your onboarding. It can be your leave, your attendance, or you can also create your own analytic dashboard. So which is why we see this as a meaningful space to make better decisions. Now, all of this products as a single line is put together and called as Zoho People Plus. This is nothing but a HR based bundle which covers your end structure right from your hiring to your retire, which is hire to retire, covering all your talent acquisition, your onboarding, your core HR functions, and your exit management. So this is why we call this as an evolving app for the evolving world of work. For companies where they invest in employee experience are considered to be 4 times more profitable than the ones who don't do. So this is a resource from Deloitte. And thank you so much